Oh, sure. The time is 7:01. The meeting's called to order.
All right, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Can all rise? Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance
allegiance
To the flag
of the United
United
States
States of America,
and
to the republic
republic for which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
nation,
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Roll call, please.
Chair Buzzell,
At present.
Vice Chair Firestone, absent at this time. Chair or Commissioner Ramirez,
I am here.
Commissioner Bogue,
Here.
Commissioner Chang.
Here.
Is alternate Tobiano here? Doesn't appear so. All right, thank you.
The agenda was posted 72 hours prior to this meeting at City Hall, Crowell Public Library, and the Rec Department. It was also posted on the city's website. Now is the time when we move to public comments. For any public comment for a matter that's not on the agenda. I see we have some members of the public present. Do we have anybody that wants to speak briefly on any item that is not on the agenda?
Chair, may I speak for a moment?
Absolutely. Mayor Jacob.
Thank you. I would just like to give a shout out to the Public Safety Commission. I don't know how many of you do read the San Marino Tribune, but I was offered a quote, and on the front page of the March 31 edition, I shared how the public safety input gave their thoughts to the budget planning process in our capital improvement projects. And I spoke about how the great idea came from here for improving the playground, not over 3 years, but all this year, and the commission offered full support to that. So there are a number of other public safety commission items that we supported, but I was delighted that Mitch chose to talk about this. So your work in action. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other member of the public that has any comment on any item that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to commissioner reports. This is the opportunity for members of the Public Safety Commission to inform the public on any meetings or conferences they may have attended. Does any commissioner wish to inform the public of any meetings or conferences? Seeing none, we'll move to new business. Police Department report concerning Assembly Bill 481 on military equipment. Chief Incontro.
Good evening, Chair Buzzell and commission members. Effective January 1st, 2022, Assembly Bill 481 came into effect, and in that ordinance, law enforcement agencies were required to report and adopt ordinances where a local government entities, the city council for us, approves the use of what is termed military equipment. In our report, I believe we included the definitions of what military equipment is, and we gave the commission a report or a page that describes what military equipment we have, which is only 3 items. So we are required to begin the process. We published the proposed ordinance and the information on our website as we're required. We have this public meeting, and then there will be another public meeting on the 13th where the ordinance is read for the first time, and then the following month we'll read it and finalize it and approve it on the second time. So we're required to make sure that the public understands that we have certain items. We also, if we decide to buy something different or utilize something different, that our personnel are trained and know how to use it, and that we have reported it to the city council, and the city council approves what we do. We wanted to make sure that we brought it to the Public Safety Commission first. You can read the report, but the important things that we have is to go to the three items that we do have. One is there is a request for a command and control vehicle, and we have a command post trailer. So that falls underneath the requirements. We also have or will be purchasing less lethal munition launchers, which is sometimes the legislature calls it a grenade launcher. It's similar in style to what people may have seen on TV or from reports of the Vietnam War era of a 37 millimeter. We use a 40 millimeter launcher, and it's designed specifically for the less lethal munitions. Doesn't have the capability and is not built to withstand the firing of any type of live ordnance at all. It would explode if we did that. And then the third item is our use of AR-15 platform rifles. Rifles that are used, ours are made by Colt and a couple other different organizations, and we use those rifles for self-defense in lethal situations. And those are the three items. And that is my report. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Let's start with Commissioner Ramirez, given his background. Do you have any questions for the chief?
Putting aside my thoughts on the law itself, I will focus on the three items that are in question. One, I don't have any problem with the command post. The 40 mic, however, in the multi-launchers, it's my experience in dealing with tactical teams around the country that they tend to jam a little more than the single launchers. So I don't know if the department considered going to single launchers or having a couple single launchers just in case there are problems with the multi-launchers. So that's a concern I've had.
We do have a single round launcher.
Okay. And then finally, the AR-15 platform. I have no problem with that. And it looks like you're just going to have a red dot. You're not going to have any like 3 or 4 power scopes on those rifles.
We're in the process of assessing those now. And we've even had discussions about allowing the officers to purchase their own rifles so that they would have a list, be able to use and purchase approved optic systems that do have magnifiers along with the optic itself. Slow and moving, it's an expensive endeavor for most police officers, but we are in the process of updating, and we are looking at different types of optics and other items that will ensure that the weapon will be fired properly and in safe manner.
My only concern about the personal weapons being used for patrol purposes is just make sure they're inspected on a regular basis, because many cases I've dealt with, inappropriate things have been placed on the dust cover or the upper lower receivers or the buttstock, and that's currently controversy in a variety of agencies nationwide. So I want to make sure we don't run afoul of that and do anything like wearing morale patches. Not a big fan of that, and that's inappropriate. So that's my only concern about the personal rifles.
Absolutely, I totally concur with you. We would ensure that only approved items, they will be inspected, and they are inspected by a sergeant on a monthly basis anyway. And we do have an armorer who's trained to inspect the weapon, and that happens on an annual basis.
Very good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramirez. Commissioner Bowe, any questions?
Quickly, what do you launch with your launcher?
We currently use a direct impact sponge round. It is a 40 millimeter size piece of plastic that is maybe 2.5, 3 inches tall, and it has a soft sponge covering that completely covers the top of the round. That is used as a less lethal munition when we're encountering someone who may be a threat, a significant threat to other people, or the officers themselves. They may even be armed with a knife or even a firearm. but it gives us standoff distance. And we could fire it from 5 feet to, I believe, 50.
I thought it
I
said.
don't want to quote because I can't remember exactly what the distance is, but they do have optics themselves that a red dot sight system that helps us 5 feet to over 100 feet. I'm sorry, here we go. They travel at about 305 feet per second, which is very slow. And considering any other firearm, you know, a 45 Colt 45 pistol, most rounds will fly at about 850, 900 feet per second. So quite a bit, even 3 times as much. And it's designed to stop someone. It is less lethal. That right now, all we have is a baton and our oleoresin capsicum or OC spray. And that is the only 2 items that we have. And this provides us with standoffs. So we don't have to go up close. We don't have to put hands on. It's safer for the officers and safer for the other person involved.
Thank you for the explanation.
Welcome, sir.
Commissioner Chang, any questions?
I have no questions, thanks, Chair.
Commissioner Tobiano? She's shaking her head. But
I know I can't get to my mute button fast enough. No question, thank you.
Thank you.
Chief and Contra, I just had one question about the non-lethal launchers. Where are they stored? I mean, are they in cars? Does everybody have one? Do some people have them? Are they at the station? You have to call for it? How does that? We don't have.
Right.
that.
Thank you, sir. Right now, we have one in the sergeant's vehicle. The council approved our purchase of mounts that are locked. That will be in all the patrol or 6 of the patrol cars. So they'll always be available in the field. The officer can have the option of taking them. The correct terminology is less lethal rather than non-lethal. Something could always become lethal. So we always want to remember that we're not using a non-lethal device. We're using a less than or less lethal device.
Okay, perfect. Are there any members of the public that have any questions or comments on the chief's report? Seeing none, the recommendation of the staff was to receive and file the report. So I'm assuming we don't need to have much discussion on that. Is there any discussion on that? If not, I'll entertain a motion to receive and file the chief's report.
Might I ask a question quickly? Would there be any advantage to endorsing the report?
Yeah, you could, yes, and we'd make sure that we let the city council know that that we did bring this to the Public Safety Commission. They did endorse the report.
I would move that we endorse the report and whatever the appropriate language is.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second it, whatever it is we decide to use as proper language.
Well, we need to have a motion, so let's go with what Al said. So all in favor of endorsing the report? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Chief. And we'll move on to number 2, the Police Department monthly report. That's you again.
Thank you, Chair and Commission. Wanted to preface this report that you have in your possession that due to the fact that the date that we needed to ensure this was brought to the fire department for publication, that we did not have our monthly stats. We will have 2 months of stats next month. And however, crime is still continuing to tread downward from what we know. Our detective bureau has been very busy. If you saw our social media posts that on one day this past month that we made a traffic stop and found 2 firearms inside the vehicle. Suspect had multiple firearm ammunition in his pocket, and the firearms themselves were empty. So that was a very good arrest. There was a small amount of narcotics that was also found with the suspect. We've had other suspects arrested for petty theft. We've had filings on those 3 counts. We've also had filed 16 cases with the district attorney, and we're waiting for their review. And in addition to that, we still had 8 other felonies that, or rather 8 cases that were pending review. We are still working with other agencies to try and come up with a plan to work with those agencies about catalytic converter thefts. That's a big thing. It's a big thing across the county. And there is some pending legislation that is in Sacramento, and I don't know exactly where it is in the process. It may still be in public safety, or it may have been approved by the assembly. I'm not sure on that. But we want to be able to do something. The idea of etching has been a good idea that some other departments have used. However, if a unscrupulous person buys this, the catalytic converters, and they get rid of them, melt them down, we don't have the bin. So some of the other options are cages or pieces of metal that surround the catalytic converter, that it can't be stolen. I was looking for a car. I'm trying to find a car to buy, and I noticed one of the options on one of the cars was a shield, so you could not tamper with the catalytic converter. Very happy to say that we're continuing our work with Neighborhood Watch. We have a coffee with a cop coming up on Sunday, April 24th at the new coffee spot on Mission, just west of Euclid on the north side of the street. Very nice guy that owns a business, and he's more than willing to work with us. So we'll be having that. That'll be from 9 o'clock until I think 12 o'clock that morning. We want to thank the City Council again for approving the purchase or the lease of our 8 new flock cameras, and then the 9th, which was donated by a member of the community. So we're working on placing those 9 cameras as of now. Another really good thing to talk about is the fact that we have 2 conditional job offers for police officers coming from other agencies. And then we have another lateral officer who is just starting backgrounds. We're a little fortunate right now, but as things go, we could be like every other city in the county that is having problems with recruitment. It's just one of those things that we're doing pretty well right now, and I appreciate all the efforts of my team for doing that. We don't have the current information on traffic. It's the same part of the statistics that we would normally have for crime, but we've been using the radar trailer quite frequently on the southbound side of Sierra Madre at Huntley Circle, and also we've had it a few times northbound Santa Anita. Sierra Madre, block or so north of Huntington Drive. And we currently have the radar trailer at Del Mar and Roanoke, or within that area. That's my report. If you have any questions, I'm available. And recommendation is I move to receive and file the March 2022 Police Department Update Report.
Commissioner Ramirez, I saw your hand up.
Thank you. Talking about recruitment, what is the status of our potential loss of 11 officers because of this COVID mandate? I think I may have shared with you, Chief. I've been contacted by members of other police departments who know that I'm on the Public Safety Commission, and they've contacted me expressing their hesitancy in providing personnel from their agencies to help provide patrol services for our city. 1, it's going to take personnel away from their city. 2, they don't know our city. They may not be on the same communications. 3, there's no guarantee that they're going to be vaccinated. And 4th, they feel like they would be crossing a union picket line, and they're not at all happy with what could happen. And that I'm more concerned about public safety than I am just about anything else right now, because I'm seeing and talking with my agencies that I represent. Let's just talk about LA County. Murders are out of control, burglaries out of control, everything is spiking. You're having probably a difficult time getting a lot of your cases filed by a current district attorney. So there's just this cascading effect. And then if we all know how difficult it is to recruit new police officers and retain them. I am getting calls from chiefs, not just in LA County, but from others to talk about these issues. And so my concern is if we lose up to 11 officers, we are not going to be able to provide the services that this city expects and anticipates. Indeed, we pay extra parcel taxes to help fund our police and our fire department. So if we're going to lose our officers, do all of us get a rebate back, a discount, or are we going to suffer the consequences of not having officers on duty 24/7, which is our expectation? So I raised it because I'm concerned. I've been contacted by several of my neighbors who are very concerned because they're hearing about this. And many of them will call me and ask, hey, Gene, what's going on? Why are we going to lose 11 officers potentially? So I just want to know if there's an update, Chief, because I'm obviously very concerned about this, as I think everybody is.
Mhm. As to what is going to happen with the 11 officers, that's an issue, HR issue, and something for the city council and the city manager. I have provided information to other agencies if they would be interested in the contract services with our department. None have come forward. So far, the biggest issue that they raised to me is the fact that they just don't have the personnel themselves. In fact, Arcadia requested personnel from San Gabriel Valley to assist them with special events, and there's been other agencies that are having equal, if not worse, issues with hiring, retention. It's a very tough time right now for everybody. We have continued to work on a plan to ensure that we have personnel deployed to the field, and that to the best of our ability, we will be able to provide service to the community. And as you indicated, will be a challenge, but we believe we will be able to provide services to the city. We're working on a plan to supplement with some other ideas about how we're going to police and protect the city. And then also staffing plans and deployment formulas that we're going to try and move forward if this comes to that severe an issue. But for right now, I really can't answer. I'm not involved with the issue. It's between HR, the city manager, and the city council.
Well, hopefully they'll put it together and realize that the average citizen has very little contact with police officers. And so the chance of catching COVID is minimal. And instead, most agencies are now relaxing their restraints because they realize they can't afford to lose their officers given what it costs to train them. And losing each one officer is worth probably hundreds of thousands of dollars to the city in replacement costs and retraining and experience. And obviously we require a certain type of officer to patrol this city as opposed to other cities. You know, we're probably a little more PR oriented, so I would hate to lose those officers that we have who've decided to make a career here. So thank you, Chief.
You're welcome, sir.
I was going to ask Commissioner Bowe if he had any questions. He took a sip, so I paused. No. Commissioner Chang?
No questions, thanks.
Commissioner Topiano?
No questions, thank you.
Any questions from any member of the public on the chief's report? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to receive and file the police department report. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Chang,
motion.
thank you. Second? Commissioner Ramirez, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, that carries. Moving on to item number 3, Fire Department Monthly Report. Chief Rueda.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I prepared a report for you. It's in front of you. But I did want to highlight a couple of the areas. the fire department's COVID-19 response. As you've watched in the news, read in the newspaper, the declining number of cases, that's been consistent with the fire department's response. We haven't seen a COVID case in an emergency setting in probably over a month. And our numbers are, as reported by the county, are trickling maybe 1 or 2 new cases a day within the city. I think a lot of that can be attributed to the incredibly high vaccination rate in our city. 85%, 86% of our residents 5 and older have been fully vaccinated. And then our school district has done just an outstanding job. They have almost 90% of children that ages 5 to 11 that have been fully vaccinated. It was actually pointed out in an LA Times article, March 28th, that San Marino for children is actually one of the highest rates of vaccination in the county for a city. So that's a good thing. It actually keeps people from getting seriously ill, and it's consistent with what we're seeing. So all good news. I also wanted to point out that we started executive training for our executive team in emergency management. We conducted the first session for our managers, and we covered our organizational structure and staffing protocols for the EOC for all of our department heads. And I'm looking forward to providing that training every month for our executive team. It's one of those things that because it's so infrequent, people tend to discount it, but it can be important. And I found that people don't necessarily rise to the occasion. They sort of sink to their level of training when things happen. So I'm pleased I got the support of the city manager, and we're moving along. Last item I just wanted to touch on was personnel. So we've had 2 firefighters, and most recently firefighter Brent Sawyer successfully complete probation, a year's probation. And that's not necessarily an easy thing in San Marino. They take the job of training these individuals seriously, and we've had 2 individuals in the last month complete probation. We have a 3rd probationary firefighter that has 10 months on, and he seems to be on a path that is going to make him successful. So we're pleased about that. We currently have 2 vacancies, and we conducted a recruitment in November, and we received 10 applications. So that contrasts with a 2020 recruitment in the first part of the year that had well over 100 applications. So it's a different landscape today. We've been fortunate out of this recruitment of 10 applicants that we actually were able to make 2 conditional job offers to 2 candidates that passed. And both candidates are going through the pre-employment screening right now, a background, psychological, medical exam, and we hope to see them in early May, starting in their training, in their first training year. So it has been a difficult recruitment process for us. We're not used to seeing that few candidates, but I know some of our partner agencies in the area are seeing some of the same difficulties. So in previous years, when we would have people leave and create vacancies in our department, it was less of a concern to me because we had 10 people standing in line for every position that was open, and more than 10 people, 10 to 15. So this is a change for us, but we're fortunate that we do have 2 good candidates to offer jobs to, and that will, if they complete our process,
1 minute.
That will bring us to full staffing. So that concludes my report, and I'm ready for any questions that you may have.
Commissioner Chang, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Ramirez, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Vogt, any questions?
One question. I noticed in your report that the vast majority of overtime during the preceding month was due to an on-the-job injury. Is that individual on a long-term outage, or will they be back soon, or how are they doing?
We actually had 3 fairly serious injuries. One resulted in a hand injury that required our workers' compensation administrator to work to find a surgeon to perform surgery on the hand. That injury was in November, and the surgery is scheduled in May.
Wow.
And it's one of the difficulties with the work comp system that we encounter, that I think they try to balance all the fairness to the employee and while trying to make sure that we're looked out for, but it can be frustrating, and I know it's frustrating for the employee. We had a second individual that had knee surgery that resulted from a fire response. He is back at work now, and we have a third member who's suffering some of the effects of COVID infection that he encountered here at the fire station back in January, and he's getting better, but he's not back at work yet. So IOD injuries are the one area of overtime that really is difficult for us to predict, and it really can spike our overtime numbers when we can't get them into an MRI, we can't get them to surgery, and then we can't get them back, because I do know our members are oftentimes anxious to get back to work, and it's just part of what we deal with here.
Well, I'm sure the other commissioners would agree with me that we would want you to pass along our best wishes for a speedy recovery. It's a risk that they take when they come to work for us, and we certainly hope that they'll recover quickly.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Second that. Commissioner Tobiano, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Any questions or comments from any member of the public? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to receive and file the fire department's monthly report. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Bo, thank you very much. A second? Commissioner Ramirez, all in favor? That motion carries unanimously, and we'll move on to item number 4, the Parks and Public Works Department monthly report. And I don't know if the commission as a whole is aware, but we have lost Director Throne to another city or agency of some sort. So he is no longer with the city of San Marino. And as they look for a replacement, Mr. Gutierrez is here with us tonight to give the Parks and Public Works Department monthly report.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Public Safety Commission. To introduce myself, my name is Chris Gutierrez. I am the Public Works Manager. I will be hitting a few points on Director Throne's monthly report. To start, the striping modifications on Huntington Drive westbound between Monterey Road and West Haven are still underway by the city's traffic engineer, Transtech. We hope to get those back within the next month or so. The fire station bathroom remodel project was awarded to Rubio Medina Architects. The architect and city staff will be conducting a kickoff meeting within the next week or two. Also, we had the no stopping signs put on both sides of Oak Grove at Virginia. Attached, you will find the the sketch from Transtech and pictures of our staff from the street department installing the signs. The construction and construction inspection services for the fiscal year street rehab program is currently being advertised for bids. The estimated value of the street rehab work is 3.4 million, and the inspection services is estimated to be 80,000. Construction services for the upcoming sidewalk replacement program is also being advertised for bids. This agreement, when awarded, will be a 5-year with 2 additional years of satisfactory performance for an extension. The estimated value is $450,000. Lastly, our staff added the 25 speed limit legends south of Huntington on San Marino Avenue from Huntington to city limits. Lastly, we adjusted the timers to account for the daylight savings time on all our streetlights. And to follow up with Chair Buzo, Mr. Throne went to La Mesa. He's taking over the Public Works Director over there, and it was a good spot for him, seeing that he lives out that way. And that will conclude my report.
It did make sense, and I got an opportunity to wish Director Throne our best on behalf of the Public Safety Commission at our last agenda setting meeting, and I know he's leaving with mixed emotions, and we will miss his contributions.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Ramirez, since you're not on mute, do you have any questions?
No, I am good. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Commissioner Bo? Commissioner Chang?
No questions, thank you.
Commissioner Tobiano?
No questions here. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Gutierrez from any member of the public? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to receive and file the Parks and Public Works Department report.
I will so move.
Thank you. Second? Commissioner Chang, thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed, I see. That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 5, approval of the minutes. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our March 7th, 2022 meeting. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Bo, thank you very much. Second? Commissioner Ramirez, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries unanimously. Leaving us with number 6, presentation of draft fiscal year 22-23 Public Safety Department budgets. Mr. Chung.
Thank you, Chair Buzel and Commissioners. Tonight, I just have a short presentation for the Commissioners here. Hopefully, Robert can bring that up for you. Okay, he gave me screen rights. Hold on, let me get this up really quick here. Do you see the slides, the PowerPoint?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, so I only have about 6 slides, and in respect of the Commissioner's time, this opportunity really is to get your comments and feedback regards to the budget process. Our budget process, of course, starts about January, and it involves the City Council, it involves commissions, boards, and also, of course, the city staff. And for this year, it will be our 22-23 proposed budget for next year. The city manager and I, we met the last 2-3 weeks with all the department heads and the analysts that are involved. And so these meetings are dry. They're very number intensive, but it is necessary to go through the weeds. And so we went through that process. And so tonight I just have numbers, and these are draft numbers. These numbers might change. The estimates, of course, might change, but overall, I just wanted to give the commission a picture of where we're sitting for next year's budget. And so let me just begin my slideshow here. On a 30,000 level, touching on our revenues going into next year, it remains robust. And it's a similar story I've been telling the council the couple of years, but we've been really fortunate here at the city. And our expenditures are rather under control, even though, as you've probably seen it in your wallets and your personal budgets, inflation has skyrocketed, and we're trying to wrap our arms around that. But overall, On the inflation side, we're seeing 3 to 7% on utility costs. Contracts, or we're seeing an approximate 3 to 5% increase on CPI changes on the agreements. New contracts that come on board, we do see a higher cost that's associated due to inflation. But overall, what I'm seeing on the public safety departments, there goes the fire truck. Overall, the department heads and the analysts, we've done a great job just kind of really going into the weeds, trying to make sure that we're providing the best budget for next year so that we can continue to services and just not inflate the budget overall. Talking about revenues, as you know, our general fund revenues, 70% of that comes from property taxes, and we're expected to grow about 6% next year. That's exciting, being that last year in 2021, we sold approximately 183 homes here in San Marino. And I believe the last time it hit that mark was back in 2014 when we sold 188 homes. But of course, now with prices that have appreciated, the assessor will make those changes and be reflected in our next fiscal year coming up. So I'm looking at about a 6% increase in our property taxes next year, revenues in our property tax revenues. Public safety parcel tax was passed 2 years ago. That covers about 25% of our public safety's budget. So it is a pivotal revenue for our city here. Just to give you a highlight on COVID-19, how the funding that we received from the federal government, we received $185,000 back in 2020 from the CARES Act. And we're due to collect the last remaining $3.1 million from the American Rescue Act of 2021 that was passed by President Biden. So jumping into the departments, I have the 3 departments here. Police department, overall, their total budget is 7.9 that's proposed for next year. 7 million of that is for personnel. And I just wanted to highlight to the commissioners that the personnel budget is flat, meaning compared to our current budget to next year, it's flat in a sense that we're going into MOU negotiations, meet and confer. And from that outcome, I will have a better idea of what that increase, potential COLA increase, might impact our personnel budget. So the current budget that you see in front of you does not include that personnel increase, potential increase. So on police's side, you're looking at $7 million, no increases in the full-time equivalent positions. And on the service and supply side, you're looking at $0.9 million. And so that increase from current budget for service and supplies, you're looking at about 7.1% increase, or $62,000. And that really equates to kind of the highlights that I've brought to you here on 3 highlights: IT software for automated work scheduling. That really is for efficiency for the department. This is supposed to bring a more software so that the department knows when their trainings are, where their certificates are, where the various police officers are throughout the day. So this really should help them automate that. The chief is also proposing a Drucker School of Management Executive Leadership Institute. This is really a staff development, also a morale booster for the department. Really for tenure purposes, to get the police officers into higher roles as sergeants and the commanders, and also potentially a chief role in the future. And also for the department, they want to utilize some donations fund, $26,000 for next year out of their $54,000 that they've accumulated through the years in their donations funds from some various departmental needs for next year. On the fire department side, it's really a status quo budget. Their budget for next year is proposed to be $6.2 million. Their personnel budget is $5.5 million with no increases in FTE, setting at 21 positions. And their service and supplies is $0.7 million next year. And that's about a 10% increase next year. And that really, the driver for that increase is really a budget correction, which I stated here, the Shared Division Chief Services from South Pass. That's that co-agreement that the city has with South Pass. The last 2 years, it seems like South Pass has been behind in their billing. And what we found out was that they've been underbilling the city. So they've corrected that, and we've corrected our budget for next year to reflect what it costs for the shared services, division chief services for next year. And lastly, for Parks and Public Works Department, their overall budget is $3.7 million. Overall, another status quo budget. Personnel budget is sitting at $2 million for next year. No changes in FTE or positions. And their services and supplies is $1.7 million. And that's approximately an increase of 3.9% from our current budget. The two main factors for their increase is, well, one's an increase and one's an offset, but one increase is that the tree maintenance and planting program, that cost, which last month, the council provided Mariposa Landscaping, the contract multi-year agreement. So that increase is embedded into next year's budget. But then also it's offset by some of the budget changes that we made for construction management and inspection services. That no longer is sitting in the operating budget. We've moved that into the capital budget. So that concludes the department just summary of their budget for next year. Just some important updates coming up on the calendar. April 22nd and the 29th, the department heads and I will be presenting the departmental budgets to the city council. And there'll be an opportunity for the city council to provide feedback to the staff so that we can gather the budget together, package it for the May 27th adoption for the budget. And that really concludes my presentation tonight. I'll turn it over to the commission for any questions. And I also have the chiefs here for any specific questions. And also, of course, the public works manager as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chung. Commissioner Bo, any comments or questions on the budgets?
Yes, first of all, with regard to the police budget, I wanted to commend the chief for the increase in professional development effort. That's we've talked about that in the past, and I know that's something that's near and dear to your heart. You want to grow the talent and experience, just as do Chief Rueda and we've done the same thing with Parks and Public Works. But congratulations there. I'm glad to see you were able to get it in the budget. The other question I had really are two other questions. One, in Parks and Public Works, in lieu of the loss of our department head, I'm sure there will be a search and costs associated with that. Have you reflected the search cost in the budget yet, or is that one of your amendments that's planned, Paul?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Commissioner. For us, being that especially the executive recruitments are very hard to nail down, we try to budget that. We budget $30,000 in the HR's budget, where we have the executive, or not executive, but overall all recruitment budget for all City Hall, $30,000 next year. This year, though, the recruitment will happen this year. And we've had quite a bit of recruitments this year. So we are going to overspend that recruitment budget. And to my understanding, I believe it's going to be about $12,000 over that budget. But I won't be coming to council for a new appropriation of that amount, because overall HR's budget is under budget. So I won't have to come to council for that. But we are expected to exceed that recruitment budget this year due to this public works director recruitment.
Thanks for that. I was you're quicker on this than I had expected. I thought we might not be getting around to it that fast. Glad to hear it. Final question. I want to confirm my understanding that all of our employee groups memos of understanding are open for negotiation. Is that the current fiscal year? In other words, there'll be hopefully negotiations and everything will be taken care of before the end of this fiscal year.
Yeah, so the new MOUs, the current MOUs are due to expire June 30th of 2022. So we are in the process of meet and confer with the council and the city manager to hopefully, cross my fingers, to get it done before May, but it's a tight timeline. And so for me, of course, on the budget side, I want to know what the impact would be. But at the end of the day, if we can't hit that June 30th, or by the time I propose the budget to the council, we would have to just amend the budget next year when the MOU negotiations come to a conclusion.
I see. Well, thank you for that.
No problem.
Commissioner Chang, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Ramirez, any questions or comments?
No, I do not have any. Thank you.
Commissioner Tobiano?
No questions, thank you.
Chief Rueda, I'm going to ask a question I probably should know the answer to, but I noticed in the report that Chief Incontro's budget was under because of staffing shortages. Your budget was over because of staffing shortages, and that resulted from overtime. I understand we need to staff the fire department. Maybe this is a question for Chief Incontro. I'm trying to figure out why one department has overtime and the other one doesn't have overtime when there are staffing shortages.
The fire department runs under a constant staffing model. So it's hard to predict our fires and our heart attacks in our city. So we actually staff 4 people on the engine and 2 people on the rescue ambulance every day, 365 days a year, 24/7. The police department has a different staffing model where they sometimes I'm speaking for the chief, but they won't hire back necessarily when someone's off. But most of our procedures, our policies are all based upon, and our protocols are all based upon having the number of people that we do. And if we operated with less people, I think in some critical situations, you'd likely see potentially a different outcome. So it is something that I know under a previous council that they asked me about. And in my experience, I think for people paying a premium service here in this community, they deserve to get the best. So the best that we can provide, within the limitations that we have. So that's the differences in the model.
Is this time for a counterpoint?
Yes.
I just believe that I'm much more efficient fiscally than my companion within the fire department, and I'm much more clairvoyant about when crimes are going to be occurring in the city. Actually, the chief got it perfectly. We don't have the constant staffing, so we're a little more fortunate in that regard.
And then I was curious, having not been involved in the meetings with Mr. Chung and city manager and others, are there any items in the operating budgets that either Chief Rueda, Chief Incontro, or Mr. Gutierrez want to bring to our attention? Any areas where there are things that have not been included or have not been included in the way that you would have liked that could benefit from our input? Let's start with Chief Rueda.
I brought 2 fairly significant items to council in the capital budget, and the council both agreed with me that they would benefit our city. One was a significant purchase for radios, the actual handheld radios, which are nowadays they're a computer that the firefighters can get multi-bands, and they're part of our safety system now with an emergency alert. So that was a significant capital purchase. The other item was a medical cart that we can use for special events and movie watches, the significant dates at the Huntington where they actually ask us to staff back paramedics. That will allow us ease of access. We've been borrowing San Gabriel's for these events each year, and we've been lucky that they haven't had a competing event. This year was one of the first times at the Motor Classic that we had an individual that pale, cool, diaphoretic, male, mid-50s, and he was at the back of the park. It would have been very difficult to get our ambulance back there, or if he had actually collapsed, would have been a long haul for our people. That would have been a difficult response, but we're able to quickly put him in that med cart and he was in the back of the ambulance in less than 2 minutes. So I think it'll be a good addition to our city. And on the operating budget, we've just asked for the corrections for inflation, and then the correction as Paul mentioned about the South Pasadena's billing. But I think with just getting through people back to work and getting our staffing corrected, getting the EOC project completed, I think there'll be plenty of things for us to keep occupied and for the next year.
Perfect. That's good to hear. Chief Incontro?
I also want to echo Chief Rueda's comments about the council. We made a request just 2 weeks ago regarding security cameras and a gate between the police facility and the fire department facility to secure the parking lot and the rest of City Hall. And the council was very generous in their approval of that. And then also for our operating budget and Commissioner Boga, I really want to thank you for pointing out the importance of the Drucker School of Management that we're requesting. There's probably 3 outstanding management programs for law enforcement. One is the FBI National Academy, and we're competing with every agency in the United States and a significant number of foreign countries for positions in that school. Then there's the Senior Management Institute of Policing that's put on by the Police Executive Research Forum that I was fortunate enough to go to while I was with LAPD, and that's in Boston, and that's another difficult program. Person's gone for 3 weeks, and the Drucker School of Management assisted California Police Chiefs Association in creating the Drucker Law Enforcement Management Program. It's here in Claremont at the university, and it's one of the best programs for command and staff level personnel, and that's developing our personnel is extremely important. And our budget request for training has increased specifically to try and keep up with technology and policing as it is, especially with all the different things that are going on. So those are the 2 primary areas that are important to us. And I also want to just shout out and say thank you to Paul, Director Chung, for all his good work. And he's really made a difference in finance, and he's taught me quite a bit about how to do budget, and I appreciate his work here.
Thank you, Chief Incontro. Mr. Gutierrez, I'm not sure you've been involved in this process, so I don't mean to put you on the spot, but.
It's fine. It's a great experience. We have Parks and Public Works have nothing at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any questions or comments from any member of the public on the draft fiscal year Public Safety Department report, budget report? Seeing none, we were asked to review and provide comment. I suppose we could end the evening with a receive and file motion if someone would like to make that motion. Commissioner Bowe, thank you. Second.
May I, rather than make the motion, as we ask a question first?
Yes.
We've obviously had several comments and questions this evening, and it sounded as based on the answers we got, my guess is that we feel pretty good about the budget as it's prepared. Would it be of any value for us to indicate in some way that we endorse or support or approve of the budget as prepared? I don't know. Maybe the chiefs or Paul could respond to that. I don't know if it would be helpful or not.
What I can do on the staff report that will go before council is to let the council know that we brought forth the public safety's budget to the commission, and that you reviewed it and you provided comments regards to accepting the proposed budget.
Well, then may I move that we advise the council that we are comfortable with, pleased with, endorse, encourage them to adopt. Because I think that is our role, is to be supportive if at all possible. So I'm not sure how we do that, but maybe we just simply indicate that we've reviewed it and support it,
So you're moving to the,
that we receive the report and advise the council that we support the proposed budget.
is there a second on that motion? Commissioner Ramirez, any commissioners have any comments on Commissioner Bo's motion? Any discussion one way or the other? Seeing none, let's take a vote. All in favor of Commissioner Bo's motion? It passes unanimously, and we are at the end of our agenda, essentially. Any future agenda items from any member of the commission? Seeing none, I see Mayor Jacobowski has appeared. I'm wondering if there's any public comment on future agenda items or something else that she wanted to say.
No, I just brought my face back up at the end of the meeting. I thought it was a really productive, good meeting. That's all.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Commissioner Bo, thank you. Second by everybody. We are adjourned.
Have a good night.
Good
Thanks,
night,
everyone.
everybody.
Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good meeting.
Thank you.